Hey, welcome back to math. We are moving on to the next unit. We're going to be talking specifically about different multiplication problems and how we can work to memorize those and how we can work to figure those out too. We're going to be looking at today factors, twos and fives. Now, twos and fives are easy because you've known how to count by twos and fives since you were a little bitty. My granddaughter's 4, and she can almost count by twos 2, 4, 6, 8, or 5, 10, 15, 20. So we're going to use that idea to help us with multiplying by twos and by fives. Take it away, Bob.
How can you use patterns to multiply by 2 and 5? Think about this question during the lesson. How many socks are in 7 pairs of socks? What operation should you choose to join equal groups? Multiply to join equal groups. How do you know that you can multiply to find the number of socks in 7 pairs of socks? You know to multiply because there are 2 socks in each pair, so there are 7 equal groups of socks. Find 7 times 2. There are 14 socks in 7 pairs of socks. Is there another operation you could use to find the number of socks in 7 pairs? Yes, we could add the number 2 7 times. The following example shows how to use patterns for multiplying by 5. Think about the number of fingers on a glove. What operation should you choose to find out how many fingers are on 7 gloves? Multiply to join equal groups. Find 7 times 5. What do the 7 and the 5 stand for in the multiplication sentence? The 7 stands for the number of gloves. The 5 stands for the number of fingers on each glove. There are 35 fingers on 7 gloves. How could we use addition to find how many fingers are on 7 gloves? We could add the number 5 7 times. You can use patterns to help you multiply by 2 and 5. 7 times 2 equals 14. There are 14 gloves in 7 pairs of gloves. 7 times 5 equals 35. There are 35 fingers on 7 gloves.
You can use skip counting or patterns to find the number of fingers on 7 gloves.
Okay, so in our book now we're on page 62 and we're looking at multiples of twos and fives, or multiplying by 2 and 5. This is going to be pretty easy because, again, all you got to do is skip count, really. On the video they talked about pairs of socks. And remember, a pair has 2. So we had 7 pair of socks. So one pair would be one group of 2. Now we got 2 groups of 2, 3 groups of 2, and on until we have 7 groups of 2. An easy way to do that is count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. You got it. With the gloves, we counted by 5s because there's 5 fingers on a glove. So we had 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. So there were 35 fingers on 7 gloves. Now let's look down here. Use skip counting or patterns to answer these questions. How many socks are in 9 pairs or in 10 pairs? So the multiplication equation for that would be 9 groups of 2 And then we would have 10 groups of 2. And guys, the easiest way, use your fingers. Hold up 9 fingers and count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And the same with 10 times 2, which would be 10 plus 10 also, which would be 20. Okay, another thing to think of with the multiplying by 2 is really you're just doubling it. 9 groups of 2. And you know from the commutative property, and I'm going to jump up here, 9 groups of 2 is the same as 2 groups of 9, which would be the same as 9 plus 9. And you know those facts, the double facts from back in 2nd grade. So just keep that in mind. We can use commutative property to help us get to an addition equation that we can figure out pretty easily. All right, now, how many fingers are on 9 gloves? Well, we're talking about fingers, and we'll assume there's 5 fingers on a glove, and 10 gloves would have 5 fingers. So 9 groups of 5. Get those fingers up again. A tool that we need are fingers. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. And 10 groups of 5 would be 50. 2s and 5s are pretty simple. Let's look over here. Now they're going to talk to you about multiples. Multiples are the products of a number and another whole number. So the multiples are when you are counting by 2s and you're counting by 5s, you are counting the multiples here. So when you counted by 2, and you didn't know this, you learned how to count by 2 so long ago and you didn't know you were doing all this fancy 3rd grade math stuff. So when we counted by 2s, we'd start at 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Notice that all these numbers are even numbers also. When we get to the 5s, we have 0, and then 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. And notice that the multiples of 5s either end with a 0 or they end with a 5. So you'll always know if something is a multiple of 5 if it ends with a 0 or ends with a 5. Let's go to the do you understand. Do you? Okay. Is 25 a multiple of 2 or 5? How do you know? Well, we're looking at 25. First of all, 25 ends with a 5. So we know that it is divisible or a multiple of 2. We'll write that. It is a multiple of 5. Is it a multiple of 2? Now, to be a multiple of 2, you have to be an even number or end with a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. It does not. It ends with a 5. So it's not a multiple of 2. So I'm going to make that a comma and put not 2. There we go. Bert says 2 times 9 is 19. How can you use patterns to show that Bert's answer is wrong? Well, 2 times 9 would be 2 groups of 9, and that's the same as 9 plus 9. So 2 groups of 9 equals 9 plus 9, and that equals 18. Sorry, Bert, you're wrong. Okay, now, do you know how? 2 times 4. Now, what they did was they kind of broke this down. It looks complicated. They kind of give you some extra steps, but they're just showing you so to help you understand a little more. 2 groups of 4 is, well, if we go through the multiples chart here, 2 groups of 1 is 2, 2 groups of 2 is 4, 2 groups of 3 is 6, 2 groups of 4 is 8. Counting by 2s with your fingers, 2, 4, 6, 8. All right, we got 8 groups of 2. Get those fingers up. 8. So we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And now we got 5 groups of 8. 5 groups of 8? Ugh, that's crazy. Let's switch that around with commutative property and make it 8 groups of 5. Because remember, commutative property tells us we can do that. So 8 groups of 5. And we put up our 8 fingers. We're going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So we have the answer of 40. And we used the commutative property, and then we counted and did some multiplication there. Using those things we know, that's our tool. Our brain is a tool. Things that you know in your brain, use that. So multiples of 2 and 5, multiplying by 2 and 5. It's pretty easy.